Okay. This is not when you do a balloon launch in a parking lot, in a public area, a lot of crowds and people. Make sure there's plenty of room downwind for your payloads to lift safely off the ground. So I wanted to show you this flight from New Mexico. I just got the other day from Facebook from Earl Campbell, KS8J. He's passed away, but his son, Jean-Luc, sent me this video of a flight that he witnessed, and his car is next to the car you're going to see. So this is a launch that you probably should not do. Do you hear that clunk? I don't know how much damage it did to the car, but you got to plan for these things. Okay. You're right, exactly. All right, I'm going to talk to you about a variety of topics, some of which Jim, during his great talk earlier, he has covered. So I'll skip through those a little quicker. But I'm going to talk about both Picos and standard latex balloons. And how many of you have never, would be category as a newbie, never flown below before? Okay, we got a few. So I will talk a little bit about that. So let's talk a little bit about the Pico balloons, which are the really small ones that can go around the world, the super pressure balloons. This is the Triquedo that Jim mentioned, and it's a little board. You send all the files to jlcpcb.com, and about a week or two later, you get beautiful boards back. They cost about double what they did 2 years ago because of all the tariffs, because the tariffs are now about $60 additional, well, 60%. It wasn't a percent tariff they put on China. They got rid of the de minimis rule. If you ordered something under $800, you did not have to pay the duties and custom fees. Now you have to pay it all because they got rid of that rule. So it's somewhere about 50 to 60% tariffs and duties on everything you get from China. But this is a Triquedo. As Jim mentioned, it's a little board with the GPS, the little transmitter chip, and it solders onto the pins of a Raspberry Pi Pico. And he just gave you all the files and the materials, and you just send it directly to this company. It shows you how to do it. And they come back, and now they're a little thinner board than typical. On my trackers, my boards are 1/3 the thickness. So mine are about 0.22 inches. I'm sorry. Mine are 6 mil, and the typical is 1.2. So he's got a little tracking site, and you can track it on his map, although I think it'd be better to make sure that in addition to this map, you also upload to the amateur.sontub.org site. And he's got various data fields that you can import as well. This is the U4B. In fact, I will pass around. This is the Triquedo, already mounted onto a Raspberry Pi Pico. And somewhere in here, I have a U4B. Pass these around. Start with you, Zach. You can take it out of the package if you want to look at it. Now he has recently, Triquedo, and that's SkyTracker. He has recently changed the GPS to one that works really well. It's the same one I use. They're $3 from China. They cover both the Baidu and the GPS constellations. So I typically get about 25 satellites during a flight. They work really well, and they're they're a tenth of the cost of a U-Blocks now. So it's the ATGM 336 and H, and they really work well. And I just order all these parts from JLC PCB on their storehouse, and I send the Gerber files, I tell them what parts to put on it, and I get a completed board back. I've included a Sky Tracker board without the solar panels on the ones I'm passing around. And that's the U4B. I think he sells those for about $50 or so. And this is the Zactec. Now the U4B and the Traquito have a particular way of encoding the telemetry. Because you only get a 4-digit grid square and a power field on Whisper. It's very limited. But we send 2 more frames now to give us extended telemetry. The difference between my method and the U4B Traquito method is that they use the 4-digit grid to embed more telemetry, whereas I keep the 4-digit grid across my 3 transmissions so I can match it to my balloon. So that's the main difference. Zactec does the altitude encoding very similar to me, that he sends a coarse altitude on the first transmission. On the second transmissions, he sends a fine, about a 60-meter resolution by doing that. And this is the Sky Tracker. And mine, I already have the solar panels and the super caps on it, and it's basically ready to fly out of the box. And I use the power film solar panels because there's, as Jim mentioned, those monocrystalline cells are like sand. You just stare at them and they're going to break. I mean, if they hit the ground, they're toast. Whereas these kids come up at a school event, they're always doing that to the solar panels. They're touching and playing with them. So they would, those monocrystalline cells wouldn't work too well. And I've tried during the winter mounting these in a square vertically, and I got it down to about 3-degree solar elevation necessary. So it worked very well during the winter, but it adds an extra 3 grams. So there is a drawback to that. You'll lose altitude. But in the winter, that's not quite as critical, and in fact, it actually is a little bit of an improvement because you're in the thick of the jet stream. You'll go a little faster around the world. I've seen one go around the world in as quick as 8 days. This is Zach's Project Traveler, and do you want to speak a little bit about this, Zach, what different variants you have?
Yeah, I'm going to talk next.
Okay.
That's the Whisper model right there, so that's running HF, and I've also got, as Jim said earlier, I've got an APRS version also running on VHF. Yeah, I'll pass those around here in just so.
And which are using the 3.6-75 panels or the 4.8s?
Oh, I'd have to go consult my documentation. I don't remember.
Okay. They look very similar to the ones I use. So there's a guy in California, Kazu, AG6NS. He actually has one sending down slow scan television. But the slow scan television really requires about a 0 dB or better noise figure. And so it's a real challenge. I've done about a half dozen times by using these remote web SDRs. And if you're within about 20 or 30 miles of one of these stations, you can pick up his signal. He's currently in South America. I mean, he's going around the southern hemisphere. So I did pick him up in South Africa at one day. So it's more of a challenge now. But this one was about 30 miles away from Memphis, Tennessee, and I got an excellent image from it. But he actually embeds the latitude, longitude, and the temperature and the altitude right in the frame. And he's doing this on a little board about like this. Another group out of Germany, DL7AD, and he's sending down that slow scan digital video format as packets on APRS, but it's a lot of packets, so it takes a while to get an image. But if you go to his website, you will actually see the areas of the world that he's gotten images from during his flight. It's really kind of amazing to be able to put a camera in something that weighs a half an ounce that's totally solar powered.
So Bill,
Yeah.
he's also got APRS receive working on that balloon.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so when he goes into GPS denied environments, they can look and see what stations are being digibeated through the balloon and figure out where they actually are.
Oh, that's really cool.
Reverse GPS with APRS.
That is something you were asking about to help with the GPS spoofing.
Yeah, because that's Sven. He used to work with the Houston
That-
DLT group.
That's right, yeah.
I still see a lot of their traffic on that email list. It works. It's working well.
Yeah, I think one of his flights is still flying. So just to give you an overview of the types of balloons, you're all familiar with the latex balloon that goes up, pops, and parachutes down. The difference is these new spherical plastic balloons, when they reach their pressure altitude, they float. They're called super pressure balloons, so that bottom curve is what you should expect from a Pico balloon. And there is solar ballooning. There's a group down currently in Sao Paulo, Brazil, PU2SWX, and they're flying RS-41s and some LoRa payloads, and they're getting some amazing flights. You can see the altitude curve. You'll go up, float at around 60-some thousand feet for a few hours, and when the sun gets lowering, down she comes. So no expense for hydrogen or helium, just a nice sunny day.
Does it ever take off again the next morning?
Sometimes, yeah, I have seen that happen. As long as it's not snagged up in a tree or something. I don't know if you remember years ago at GPSL, one of the early ones, Robert Rockty, KC8 UCH, had something called the Sky Diamond. And he took clear drop cloth and made a tetroon, which simulates a spear, and he filled it with lamp black. He said it works better than the black garbage can material because this stuff can actually melt. It gets so hot up there at 60,000 feet. He did many flights out of Michigan, and he just taped the seams with Scotch tape. He had his students build these in their gymnasium, and he would launch them. So, what's that? This is just a black plastic drop cloth.
The other one.
Oh, the other one was the very thin, clear drop cloth, but he would fill it with lamp black powder.
That's what I'm going to try tomorrow.
And it works very, very well. It's the best way to do it. Oh, good. We're going to have one going up. Will it be carrying an RS?
DFM.
Okay. The DFMs tend to drift about 5 kcs, so
Not anymore.
they don't?
Not anymore.
Oh, good.
We've got that fixed.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Because I know Luke did a flight AE5AU, and I had to track it to 5 kcs, whereas the Vaisalas go about 300 hertz is about all they drift.
He's got a temperature-based lookup table that compensates for that, and then I've been playing with GPS disciplining it, and that's also working.
Oh, good.
So there's two approaches that are both very viable to make this not drift. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, that's good to know because the DFMs are everywhere.
Yeah, the RS-41s are stabilized.
Balloons should drift, transmitters should not.
That's a good motto. I like that. So we've all talked about the amateur.sondhub.org, and then where we find these free transmitters is through tracker.sondhub.org. And then there's a site called Whisper TV. Jim mentioned that. This is a screenshot of one of our flights we did a while back with N4EAR. And Mark, how long did that stay up?
104 days,
And how many times around the world? 6?
6.6.
Yep.
We lost it southeast of Japan in a typhoon. It was developing.
All right. And that was a 15-meter Whisper Pico balloon launched by a school called Sky Academy, which I think later I've got a picture of the launch. Whisper TV, similar to SondHub that has the Grafana charting functions, he also has a really nice charting function as part of whispertv.com. The nice thing is you don't have to have a Python script uploading to this to make it work. It'll handle my format, the SkyTracker format, it'll handle U4B and I think Zactec. There's a certain way you have to enter it. For mine, you have to start with W and then the first and third characters of the telemetry call and then the start minute. So this particular flight, it was 1X2XXX was the telemetry call, and it started at 0 minutes. So it was W120, and that's how you get these charts and the tracking. Now, we talked about getting the right helium bottle. Now, this is the Dayton Hamvention 2 years ago. We did bounce off somebody's head. Now the fellow, his made it to Morocco. The girls, I think she was 12 years old, her balloon went, and she had her extra class, by the way. Her balloon, W8BI-12, went around the world 1.99 times. And it landed just 200 miles away. I think it landed in Iowa. We might find it tomorrow. Now this was launched by KD8PZU. He is a Meshtastic expert in my area in Decatur, Alabama. And the fellow in the middle, anybody recognize him?
No.
Jim, KC0RPS from Edge of Space. We launched this in a 15 to 20 knot wind. And when you're launching one of these small Pico balloons, make sure your hat doesn't blow off your head, because if it does, there's too much wind. Well, my hat flew way out in the food court on this day. So this is how not to launch Pico balloons. Yeah. 4, 3, 2, 1. I didn't know you could run that fast, Jim.
Go, Jim, go.
We hit a picnic table, somebody's hat on a picnic table, and we hit one of those electric carts. But it cleared the building, and W8BI, that's the DARA call sign for the Dayton Amateur Radio Association. W8BI-11 ended up in the Atlantic. W8BI-12, well, it went around the world, I think, twice. And the league, we did one for the league. That's W1AW-11. He is 9 years old with his X. And his ended up in Japan. So we did a flight when we were out at Colorado Springs for, let's see, a relative of Nancy's.
My daughter.
Your daughters. We put your daughter's ashes and let's see, who else do we?
Nancy's husband.
Nancy's husband's ashes. And then we also for Greg, Greg Mann, KF4ZTI. We did this from our farm and we invited his whole family down. They were from Clarksville, Tennessee. Greg has been to many GPS. And so this is a tribute flight we did. We had 0.35 grams of his ashes. And he went around the world about 1.5 times. So Greg always wanted to get one to go around the world, so we sent him up instead. "34 days, he went around twice, and then he was, I think we maybe got shot down over Ukraine. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the UAH Space Hardware Club. I'm a mentor to this group, University of Alabama, Huntsville. And they have a rocketry program, a robotics program, and a balloon sat program. They have over 100 members of all disciplines, and they do 3 or 4 high-altitude balloon flights every semester. And they go out to high schools and middle schools, and they have a big outreach program to get people involved in STEM science. So I'm going to go over some of the flights that they do. And the majority of, in fact, all of the balloon sat members now have their amateur radio license. And they got their license specifically for high altitude ballooning. And I noticed that a lot of younger people love digital modes, and this is just receiving telemetry via ham radio really excites them. So they have 3 balloon projects, Havoc, and they've got Luma and Pascal. So Havoc is high altitude visual orientation control. They have a future at NASA, by the way, because they love acronyms and they're good at it. So they've got gas jets on the end of control rods. How many of you went to the Huntsville, Alabama GPSL? They actually demonstrated this at that GPSL in the conference room. They started spinning the payload, they activated it, and it went poof. And they can point any direction as long as they've got a big enough CO2 supply. It's like a paintball canister that they've covered in carbon fiber. And it works great. As long as they've got enough fuel, it's like watching an elevator ride, because what's the worst thing about a video camera on a balloon flight? And you can see the upper left-hand picture shows the 2 gas jets, and they can send the gas jet in either direction through little solenoid valves. So, and their algorithm, they've worked on that quite a bit, their control algorithm, and it works phenomenally well. They've done a lot of these flights. Called this is Luma. And this is Long Range Universal Mission Administrator. And this one I've actually funded an add-on to this project. What's the biggest problem with a high altitude latex balloon flight, besides getting it off the ground? Finding it in a good, having it land in a good location. Now I can have a 1,000-acre field, even in Colorado. I can fly something in Colorado in a 1,000-acre field. There'll be one big tree in the middle of the field. Guess where my payload's going to land? At the top of that tree. Now, on one of the earlier flights, I don't even think it was a GPSL. It was before GPSL. You had a conference at Edge of Space Sciences years ago, and I learned. My biggest problem where I live is during the summer, I end up in cornfields. And I had a video camera on one of my payloads, and we walked up and down the rows of the cornfield, and I was watching the monitor, and I finally said, I saw a tennis shoe on the video, on my screen. I said, stop, whoever's got the red tennis shoe. They couldn't see it, they were one. So cornfields are tough. So I figured Colorado, I can't hit a cornfield in Colorado. when they came back with my payload, there was an ear of corn sticking in it because, yes, indeed, I hit a cornfield in Colorado. So the idea here is to have ducted fan module at the bottom of this. Once they vent the balloon with their venting device, it'll start coming down, and when it's down below 400 feet, the ducted fans will kick in, and it'll level it off, and it'll even have azimuth steering, and it'll fly it to the where our waiting will grab it. That's the concept, and they're working on this as we speak.
You get to pick your tree.
Exactly. That would be my life. So anyways, that's my answer. Now, there's another payload I'm working on for ones that end up in the trees, because inevitably I end up in the tree, way up. It's called Rapunzel. And the payload will drop a line and a weight out once it's landed in the tree.
Bill, have they flown Luma?
They have flown Luma, yes. But they haven't flown the stabilization at the end portion yet.
Direction finding?
Right, right. The valve system works very well, and it has a cut down as well. When they first programmed this, they programmed they missed by a factor of 10 on the altitude, and they floated at 200 feet above the ground. And it was floating along a neighborhood, and they were trying to leap up with a hook and try and grab the rope. It came within 5 feet of them as they were leaping in the air. It finally, after about an hour of going across the city of Madison, it finally hit a tree. So they adjusted their code and they finally got the altitude limit set correctly. This is Pascal, and Pascal samples chemical analysis. They have little tubes and they pump air through it, and then they close it, and they send these into thunderstorms to look at the chemistry within violent thunderstorms. They actually launched one of these from a vehicle. The balloon was inside the vehicle into the eye wall of a hurricane near New Orleans. And I saw the APRS, the first APRS reading, 50 feet off the ground, said miles an hour. So I think that's probably the record for launching one of the balloons have a successful liftoff was 80 miles an hour. Can you imagine launching into a hurricane like that? But they have a ball because they're doing the ultimate in storm chasing, because they're going out after tornadoes and severe weather and launching these balloons into crazy stuff like that. In fact, we have a severe weather institute next to UAH campus, and they have all the radar trucks you saw in the movie Twister for real. If you see those in your neighborhood, duck and cover. Run to your basement. So this is a recent flight we did with a Pico balloon to show you how school engagement works with these. Your Englewood Amateur Radio, what's the S stand for?
Englewood Amateur Radio Society.
Society, okay. They hooked up with Sky Academy, and was this the 8th grade class?
Yeah.
8th grade STEM class. And Mark was instrumental in organizing this. And you can see Mark right there in the bottom left corner. They had a great time, and they were tracking the flight after it's very narrow. It narrowly missed the power lines because there was a fair wind when they took off. So it was a very exciting launch too. But these kids we're still tracking it as to about 2 months ago when it went down.
About a month.
But over 3 months aloft. Every day they were studying this in the classroom, wondering where it was on their smartphones. Now, Florida has a very bizarre balloon ban law. And there's only one exception. Even if an institution or a school, if you're not a government agency, you cannot launch a balloon. You'll get a $250 littering fine. And there's only one bizarre exception, and I think one of the congressmen in Florida probably had some grandkids. If you are 6 years old and younger, you are exempt from the balloon ban. So guess what? We found a pair of 6-year-old twins, and Mark handed her the payload, and she launched the balloon. We also did get.
Wasn't too happy about her getting to do it.
That'll be the next law.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we did get a letter of support from Florida Space Grant, which is NASA, and so it was a government institution. So if anybody really created a stir, that helped too. So they were covering their bases either way. And this is the flight from that that occurred. That's the Whisper TV plot, our flight path from start to finish. Now, we've a lot of talk about these RS-41 radiosondes that are free falling from the sky. And Bev and I have been going out chasing them. Recovered 53 of them so far since September. We started this in late August, early September. We have an atmospheric research monitoring facility that they brought down from Alaska. And they put it in this wilderness area 35 miles west of me called the Bankhead Forest. And they launch 4 or 5 of these a day. So they're falling all around our house, everywhere, within 5 or 10 miles. Now, if they're in the deep woods, I generally give them a miss. But if they're right by the road or in somebody's yard, I'll go out after it. So here's Bev on one of our very first finds. In fact, she's the one that encouraged me to walk out in the field. It's out here, and she found it. We actually set up the paperwork, talked to the director, and we got a tour of the ARM facility. And they have one in Oklahoma. In Eden, Oklahoma, and Harry gets a lot of them. He's recovered quite a few of them as well. And they use helium and 350-gram balloons. And the RS-41 weighs about 80. So they have stacks. I think I know where all the helium shortage happens. It's right there. They've got like 200 tanks of helium there. You see that interesting device on the right? That's how they inflate the balloon. They stick the balloon in there, and they stick the nozzle out. If you look closely, you can see where they've tied it off. They've got this little plastic piece that they flip the balloon through after they're done inflating it, and they tie wrap it to it, and it reels out the line. And they let Bev launch it. So we had a big tour there. They have all kinds, millions of dollars worth of atmospheric monitoring equipment, solar equipment, atmospheric particulate matter, LIDARs. It's a huge facility that they brought down from Alaska. I'm very blessed to have it right there with all these wonderful payloads falling around me. Interesting things I've been finding on Amazon. That's an RT880G. You can set it up as a crossband repeater just by a menu command. UHF to VHF, both ways. So you can go in UHF and come out VHF and back the other way. And it works pretty well. I have yet to fly it on a balloon, but if you do, and they're like $80. If you want to fly it on a balloon, I would drop it down to a watt because it can be set to 10 watts, and I think it would probably melt. And then another one is the Argent Data simplex repeater. How many of you have ever flown one of these or a simplex repeater? The Radio Shack used to have a simplex repeater. This is the replacement for if you don't have a Radio Shack one kicking around. The Radio Shack one was real easy. It would record for 20 seconds and 20 seconds. This one, all you need is a little $30 HT. That's a Quancheng. That's the UV5R. And this is a wonderful radio in that you can convert it through the chirp accessory to receive sideband. And we use these for the Horus receive. And you stick a sound card. Well, I had one in here. Harry, can you hold up your complete APRS setup using one of these?
That's an iGate.
That's a complete iGate.
You have the sound card from N0.
NA6D.
NA6D.
Well, here you go. There you go.
IOC all in one cable.
They're 30.
That goes into the any kind of pie that you want. Power for the pie is here, and then this will of course go to an external antenna, and then through Wi-Fi, my phone will be a hotspot, which this will connect to, and it'll go to SONDUB and to APRSFI.
And it uses this sound card that's about $35, I think, and he ships them out the same day. Works great, and you just plug that into a computer or a Raspberry Pi.
And I'll put a direwolf on the pie.
Yeah, and of course you can use this for Horus, of course. But that's the nice thing, it's upper sideband, and it's also great for tracking the SONs. I've actually, when I didn't have a LilyGo with me, my TT Go, and so I took the antenna off and I body shielded and I found a SON that way, and it'll do the SONs too on 401 megahertz.
There's a guy in Korea, I think, who wrote firmware for the UVK5 that will decode RS-41 telemetry in the radio.
Oh, wow.
It gives you a QR code on the front panel with a link to the map.
I
I'll have to go find that. Yeah, it exists somewhere. Do you remember seeing that?
I browsed the machine.
It's out there, yeah. I'll see if I can find that.
No.
Also, is that the TNT or is that just a sound card?
That's a sound card, right? But it's really amazing how small it is, and in fact it plugs right into, it'll plug into a Baofeng too.
Yeah, you can buy them for $25, $30, or he's also got all the stuff up on JLC PCB, and you can order like 10 of the boards for like $60.
Right.
And then you just, break them off, and you've got 10 of those things for $60, like $6 a piece or something like that.
You can get them with the plug soldered on or not soldered on. There are two different prices on it.
He has a little jig that allows you to precisely solder the connectors on as well. And that case, this little,
He also sends you I didn't think he did, but you can 3D print it and it's out there on printables.
yeah, he's got a 3D case out there you can find too. But like I say, he sends.
The only other downside of those is if you use it for the UV5R Mini, I discovered, because we're going to make a SSTV payload using that, is that the Mini has sort of a tapered entry to the Kenworth connector.
Oh.
And those big round barrels on the end of the connectors would hit it, so Dremel tool fixed that. Whack it up.
Oh. Oh, here, yeah, this is the Mini right here. I haven't tried the Mini, but this is the K1. Is that the one you're talking about, the K1?
No, the UV5R Mini.
Oh, okay. Well, this is the Quancheng K1, which is
Might have the same issue.
which is a mini version. The only reason it's, I got a big battery pack on it, but if you take that off, it's really tiny. And this is about 30 some bucks. I know I paid 32 for that one. So really nice, handy to have.
Who makes that sound card?
The slide that's up there right there, NA6D. I think if you just type in NA6D sound card, you'll find it.
That guy? Because there's a guy on YouTube temporarily offline who sells those built and everything. I don't know if that's his call sign.
But it was very prompt. When I ordered it, he shipped it out like the next day. Now, how many of you remember Matt MXX from Colorado Springs, the 12-year-old bright engineer that was working on a payload called Tiny 4 FSK, which basically is his own version of an RS-41 Sond. Well, he now has them available, and I'll pass one around here. So I got this from him. It runs on a single, it can run off of a single AAA. You put the battery clip on the back here. He programs it, and you can break this away. But he's got a GPS antenna receiver, and he uses the an Atmel chip and a 4063 transmitter chip, SI 4063. And it can go up to, it's a D21. Anyways, it can go up to 100 milliwatts. I've got one set up for 20 milliwatts. I'm going to fly tomorrow under WB-80LK-. So I'll pass this around. Well, 100, but I'm going to set mine up for 20. I think it will do 10 as well.
Yeah, with one battery, 100 milliwatts, the lifespan is just about 3 hours.
Right.
So that's, you got to get ready to recover. But
Right.
yeah, I've dialed it down with a AAA battery to like 20 milliwatts or so. I didn't measure what the output was, and I increased it from like beginning every 3 seconds to every 6 seconds or something, and it had over 8 hours of battery life with one AAA.
Well, I've got a AA on mine, so I'll probably get double that. So it'll be almost 16 hours. He's got a nice little feature. Anyways, his website's called habtronics.com. And he's got a shield that goes on top of it for data logging and control. And you can add various sensors. So he's got a pressure sensor on there, and temperature, and battery voltage. And this is a picture of it all mounted together. So for those doing a latex flight, this would be a real nice little data logger and telemetry transmitter. And it's very lightweight. With the single AA or a single AAA battery, it'll probably weigh, I haven't weighed it, but it'd probably be less than an RS-41.
Yeah, certainly.
Well, obviously, because it has 2 batteries in it. So we'll try flying that tomorrow. So I showed you the secret slide last year, but for those of you who haven't seen it before, I got this from the Air Force, and I got their secret anti-balloon weapon because they spent $1 million worth of Sidewinder missiles to blast one of our ham radio balloons out of the air during the China balloon crisis. They blasted the North Illinois balloon over the Yukon out, and they used about $1 million worth of missiles. And they spent an extra $1 million to search the Yukon in the winter in the mountains to look for it. Now, you blow up one of these with a Sidewinder, how much of this do you think is going to be left? So they came up with a more cost-effective way. Now, before I end, in honor of Marty Griffin, WA0GEH, Bev has to print up a few stickers. And how many would you like for the Edge of Space Sciences payloads? We have, I think we got about 10 of these. You want 2, 3? 3, okay. And extras for anybody who wants to fly, Marty's picture to the edge of space. And we also have some for Keith Kaiser, WA0TJT, for anybody who would like to fly some of his images to the edge of space as well. And Harry has already put his own version onto one of the RS-41s for Marty. So, well,
Marty, take a picture of your tracker, send it to Jim, and Jim will get it to Sharon.
oh, good. That's a good idea.
Appreciate it.
So if anybody, here's your 3 for edge of space. And then there's some leftovers here for anybody else who wants to fly it.